Every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste, the therapist. Let's go.
Hi. All right. Hi, y'all. Today is Friday. And it's the end of the week, which means that it's the last time y'all see me. Hey, it's the last time y'all see me until Monday, and I'm excited. So if you're watching me on a replay and you've never been in here before, my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. I come on Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk to people that are doing things to empower other people. And the goal behind what I do is to just help shift the way you think. So if you don't know, I have a podcast that you can find all of these episodes on. So if you ever want to just kind of listen to some motivating podcasts that will like help encourage you, Celeste the Therapist Podcast is streaming on all podcasting platforms. And when I tell you I have my daughter is on YouTube. Thank you, baby. I'm gonna try to do a great job. She's watching me. When I tell you there are a slew of different stories that you can hear, so many different stories where you'll start to feel like, oh wow, like I'm not alone. And I know now with everybody kind of being isolated, that's kind of been my goal, is to just help share what people are doing and encourage people to help them kind of think about what they're dealing with, because I think that's important. So before I bring on my special guest, I just wanted to show you this crisis text line, and it's 741-741. You can contact and text that number, be connected to a crisis counselor. One thing about when we're struggling is that it's important to reach out for support. Reaching out for support is so huge and crucial, because like what happens, like it starts like this, the issue can start like this small. And if we're not like doing anything about it, it just continues to grow. And especially because it's something that's like mental, like it's in our head. There's a lot of ways that it starts to manifest, and then we forget that this issue now it feels like there's something else. It can even manifest in a physical way. One more thing I want to show you: if you go to my website, celestetherapist.com, you can access this workshop. It's a 10-minute workshop where I actually go through this will. It's a will assessment, and it breaks down the different areas of our lives. The reason why I came up with this is because, my goal is to help people get unstuck. One of the reasons why we get stuck is because of all of the different areas in our lives that we find ourselves struggling in. And if we were to actually break down these areas, we would be able to create a plan to deal with the parts that we're struggling in. And we'll also be able to understand and look at the areas that we're doing well in. And so sometimes it feels like everything is, it can feel like everything is going wrong in our lives. But then when we break it down, we'll start to realize that maybe everything is not as bad as it looks. And we'll start to feel different because we'll actually have a plan to deal with the things that we're struggling with. Hey, Prepti. So I'm going to bring on my special guest, and I'm going to have her introduce you guys to I'm going to have her introduce herself to you guys. Hello.
How are you?
Good. Can you introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Carla Monteiro. I'm a social worker, and I'm a self-proclaimed super volunteer. I'm a clinical transition specialist at Brigham and Women's Hospital in the Bridge Clinic, which is a substance use clinic designed to fill in the gap in patients' care and substance use disorder. And the clinic provides rapid access to services such as medication therapy and resources.
Nice. Thank you for everything that you do. I've been following Carla for a long time, and she's always given out like really dope information. And ever since COVID started, she has literally been on the front lines. And so thank you for your service. Like, that's amazing. When I think about social work, because I don't think people understand what social work is. Like, why did you choose to become a social worker?
Yeah, social work is so broad, and there's just so many aspects of social work. But I chose the field of social worker after my own experience with mental illness. In 2013, I was so sick, and I was really stressed. I was going through a bunch of things. I was renovating my house. The job I had worked for was closing down. So there was just a lot of different stresses going on, and so I began to feel sick. And so some of my symptoms included nausea and loss of appetite. And the only thing that I could ingest that didn't contribute to the nausea was water and Activia yogurt drinks.
Wow.
I had lost 20 pounds in a short period of time. I think I had lost 7 pounds in 3 days because I wasn't eating and I could only keep water down. And so I was also experiencing excessive worrying, hypervigilance, lack of concentration, and restlessness. I was physically, emotionally, mentally, and emotionally drained.
Yeah.
My anxiety had eventually ended up manifesting into agoraphobia. So everything I thought of put me in a state of panic. I feared going outside. I feared the mailman who was just delivering mail and didn't have access to entering my home. I feared the EMTs that my family called to take me to the emergency department because I could not stop my panic attacks. I was hyperventilating, trembling. I felt hopeless, helpless, and embarrassed. I didn't know what was happening to me, and I didn't know why it was happening. And so I've sought treatment and was finally diagnosed with anxiety after months of suffering. But when I really think back on my life and just kind of reflect on things, I believe that I had been living with undiagnosed and untreated mental illness all my life. And so I felt that the best way that I could take control of my mental health is to become a mental health specialist so I can help myself and help others.
That's so amazing. Can you just tell people what agoraphobia is?
Yeah, agoraphobia is feeling of state of panic or always feeling like, you're afraid of being embarrassed. Everything seems to embarrass you, or you have a fear of different experiences, like whether it's going outside or people, or and that tends to manifest after a period of time of having anxiety and not having it treated.
And you just said that when you went back to your life, you realized, like, I probably was struggling with this my entire life. What are you able to look back and see that gave you that kind of mindset to think that way?
I think a lot of times the symptoms. So like, since I was in my teenage years, I had lost friends to gun violence. And so whenever I would hear, that somebody else was shot and killed, I would instantly, become nauseous, start vomiting. Like, these things would instantly start happening to me. And I never really, obviously I didn't know what it was at that time. But looking back now and just understanding what the anxiety symptoms are and reflecting back to certain situations, I can definitely see that I had anxiety, not able to get out of bed, not able to go to work, just struggling. I mean, I kind of always pushed myself through and went anyway, but just reflecting back on those things, it was clear that I did have anxiety.
Now, one of the things that, like, as a therapist, sorry, my phone?
We can see you still. It's just you're frozen, but I can.
Oh, am I frozen? Sorry, a call came in. Hold on, let me see. Oh, sorry. Let me just try to refresh this. Sorry.
Yeah. I was like, she left me by myself.
A call came in, but sorry about that. I'm glad you're here. I was like, is Carla gonna leave me? So one of the things about anxiety is that when I am meeting with clients and I ask these questions, a lot of times they don't even understand what anxiety is. And when I hear their story, when I hear their symptoms, I'm usually the first person as an adult to kind of talk up to them about what anxiety is. For people that may not understand anxiety, can you try to help them understand like what it looks like?
Yeah. So I would first say that anxiety symptoms present differently in everyone. So our experiences may not mirror each other. And even my own experience with anxiety presents differently, right? So for me, my anxiety may present two different ways. So one way may be that I may experience insomnia 4 to 5 days straight and function on 2 to 3 hours of sleep for days. And then my body will crash and I'll need to get some sleep and I'll be exhausted. Like I could be sitting here talking to you and I'll just start dozing off. That's how exhausted I am from the days of experiencing the anxiety. Because my back is always tense, my shoulders are tight. Yeah. And so when you're constantly in a state of feeling anxious, it's exhausting for your body. And so the other way that it presents is that I may wake up. I may have insomnia, and then those 2 to 3 hours of sleep are not enough. So I wake up nauseous, my body's trembling, and I'm exhausted. So it happens either way. But anxiety can be very debilitating because you're always feeling anxious, and so you may not be able to focus on small projects. You might cry often. You may experience panic attacks, insomnia. You might even have diarrhea. It's just different for everybody. And so, I highly recommend seeking treatment if anyone is feeling any of these symptoms, because, you can't self-diagnose and you can't, compare your symptoms to other people and say, well, I don't have that, I only have this, because you may just not be able to get sleep. You know what I mean? So the symptoms may, you may have more than one symptoms. So it just all depends on how it'll affect you. And so you can't compare to other people.
Yeah, no, that's good. And plus, like when it goes untreated, it just kind of continues to grow. Yeah. And it's like you carry it with you, and it's something that you just get like comfortably uncomfortable living in your body, which happened with you until the point where you were forced into treatment.
Yeah.
Now, when I think about like your story, it's incredible that you were able to get from a place of struggling to now an empowering place where you're literally helping everyone. What does your work life look like now? Because I know a lot has changed since people have gone in quarantine, but even though life has changed, there's still, patients and clients that need the support. So how are you able to do that still?
Well, we've switched everything over to telehealth. So we're seeing patients just, on either by phone or through video, but it's challenging because I work in a substance use clinic. And so a lot of our patients don't have access to technology. They may not have the hardware to use Zoom or, any of the platforms, and they may not have phones for us to call.
Right.
So it's kind of difficult with, especially our homeless population. It's difficult to get in touch with them. Some may end up in the emergency department, and that's how we'll kind of catch them again. But it all varies, and it's also difficult because we're trying to place people, in long-term care, and a lot of places are either closed or they're not accepting new patients, or the patients would have to go to a treatment center, get tested for COVID, and then present a letter stating that their COVID test results were negative in order to be able to go to a detox. And some people may not have patience to have to do it, and so the access to care looks a little bit different now. And so, it's hard. It's scary, and it obviously, for this population, the disease is isolating itself, and then COVID is just kind of adding an extra layer of issues for them. So
yes, and I know that already before COVID, access had already been kind of hard, and now it's like another layer to getting into treatment. So now people are just kind of suffering. Do you see less people coming in for support, or how does it look?
Well, it's kind of weird because we are getting we're getting we're still getting referrals, but a lot of patients, so people can just call in to our regular phone number to get an appointment. but it's funny because we have some patients who are, going to somebody's house that maybe they might already be quarantining at somebody else's house. So now they do have access to phones, where before transportation was a barrier to care. And so they may have missed more appointments because they weren't able to come to the clinic. And so now, with telehealth, prior to this telehealth, they didn't really pay for telehealth visits, at the same rate as they would pay for in-person visits. And also doctors couldn't prescribe medications without an in-person visit. And so a lot of that has changed post-pandemic. And so I think that's been really helpful for a lot of patients who didn't have transportation,
Oh, that's good. Now you're doing that. That's your job, like that you're doing the regular. But then you're also doing some other things. You're also doing things on the front line. Tell people a little bit about what you're doing on top of your job.
Yeah. So earlier I said I am a self-proclaimed super volunteer. And so I know what it's like to, I was a single mom and my son's 18 now, but I have experienced food insecurities. I have been, house insecure. And so I know what all of that's like. And that's why it's my passion to serve my community and to help people. And so I've been volunteering for different organizations like the Verdean Association of Boston, who has a GoFundMe if you guys want to donate. And Monica Cannon Grant for her Food for the Soul, her and Darnell and Violence in Boston. And Liz Miranda has been very, very essential in this whole project, because I'm able to send her a list of names of people in my community. And I'm from two neighborhoods because I grew up in 5th Suffolk. So I know a lot of people in Liz's district. And then I live closer to Mattapian area now. And so just kind of jumping around between the two neighborhoods, delivering produce, diapers. Oh yeah, I forgot to give a shout out to Family Nurturing Center, because they're the ones who are providing the diapers and wipes and other essential items for families. And so so whoever calls me and needs help delivering or whatever it is, I just kind of jump on and just help out. And my neighbors are just so grateful. Like I get all these text messages from them where they're coming by. And then our city councilor, Andrea Campbell, has provided masks for the elderly that we'll be delivering tomorrow. So it's just like everything about COVID has been really sad because people are losing their families and everything. Yeah. But there's also a positive to it where all these community members are just coming together and we're all being supportive of each other. Some of my neighbors, I never even knew them, and I just found them because I'm walking a lot around my community. So now I'm running into people who might just be on their porch for fresh air. And so I'm just like, I'm going to put your name on the list. If you're interested, if they're okay with this, I just add people on. And some people I know have a hard time with asking for help. And so I don't even ask them. I just sign them up, and then I call them and say, come outside, or I ring their bell. And I have my gloves and masks on. I'm fully protected. I don't go in anybody's house. But I know how I was. I never would tell anybody that I was struggling, and I just would kind of figure it out on my own. And so I know how that is. So I just do it, and I just drop off. So.
Oh, you give me chills. That's so awesome. You mentioned this. You said the Cape Verdean Association has this GoFundMe. First, a lot of people aren't familiar with Cape Verde. I grew up in Boston, so we are so many different cultures in Boston. Yeah. But with my listeners being everywhere, at first I want you to tell us what Cape Verde, where is it, and describe it, and then the Social Workers Association that you created. Why are you so passionate about the Cape Verdean population?
Sure.
Besides the fact that you're Cape Verdean?
That's true. So my family's from Fogo, Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde is composed of 10 islands. We're off the west coast of Africa near the Atlantic Ocean. We speak, so Portuguese is our primary language because we were colonized by the Portuguese, but a lot of us speak Cape Verdean Creole. So, if we're at the hospital, stop assigning us with Portuguese interpreters or Haitian interpreters, because it's Cape Verdean Creole, not Haitian Creole or Portuguese. So that happens very often. So I just wanted to get that out there. But
tell them why you're mad, Carla.
I'm always putting these highlights in patients' cards. Verdean Creole, not Haitian Creole or Portuguese Creole or Portuguese. And so, but the Cape Verdean Social Workers Association was born out of my experience with mental illness, because culturally we never spoke about mental health.
Right.
So the organization's mission is to raise awareness and provide is to raise awareness about mental health and mental illness by providing psychoeducation and about substance use disorder too, because there's a lot of alcoholism in our community that's not recognized because we don't talk, we don't know about it, right? And so somebody could binge drink all weekend, but they go to work Monday through Friday. That's not looked at as alcoholism. It doesn't look, for us in our culture, it doesn't seem like there's an issue. And so people may, be going through withdrawals and have no idea what it is, and so I think it's important for them to understand. The other piece is also that we want to connect people, Cape Verdeans, the Cape Verdean community to community, we want to connect community members to Cape Verdean clinicians. And so our website is pending. That should be going up at some point. And then we'll have Cape Verdean social workers, therapists, all are welcome who are licensed clinicians to sign up so that it's easier for people to locate Cape Verdean clinicians. Because we're in Providence, Rhode Island, I should say, as a state. We're in Rhode Island, we're in Massachusetts. And so I think it's important for us to have a database where people can just click on and just find providers in their area. Because I get a lot of messages on Facebook and on Instagram where people are looking for Cape Verdean clinicians to evaluate, a student or to talk to a mom to explain what mental health is. And, a lot of us, I think it's hard as Cape Verdean clinicians for us to translate a lot of the mental health words, into Creole, because we may not know. But so we're, that's something else that we want to work with. We want to kind of be able to identify the words a little bit more. Because I remember a few years ago, my stepfather was telling a story, and he just said, that something happened to this kid, and he was like, "Oh, es traumatizar," and I was like, "Oh, that's traumatized." Like that, we have that word. Like I didn't even know that word existed in Creole, So I think it's important for us as clinicians to identify what those words are, so that we can explain better and actually be able to do therapy consistently in Creole. Because a lot of us were, we were born here, and so there's a lot of social workers in Cape Verde, which obviously they speak it fluently. Right. But for us who are born here, I think it's something that we should all work on, so that, we're not mixing it up with English and, full session in Creole. So those are some things that I'm hoping to work on with our team. And we have a team of wonderful social workers. You can check them out on the page. Their pictures are on there. And we have more that will be signing up once the website is up and running.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And there's something powerful when you are able to talk to somebody that understands your culture. You don't have to say anything extra. Yeah. So that's what makes your organization, I think, amazing.
Yeah, even I had a patient a while ago who, so my hospital's a bridge clinic, and so we see patients temporarily until we can connect them to long-term care. And so I remember bridging them to a therapist who is using an interpreter, via phone. And so I remember him calling me, coming back saying, "Oh, I want to come back to you. They're not giving me any advice." I'm like, "We don't give advice, but just really teaching them what therapy is and what that looks like, because they think that, I'm going to go and sit with somebody and they're going to tell me what to do. Yeah. And that's not how therapy works. And so it's important for us to kind of explain, what the goal is for therapy and how, we can work together to help them identify what their goals are and help them achieve them.
That's dope. That's so dope. Now, we just heard all these amazing things that you do. And I know sometimes it's social workers, therapists, whatever. Social workers and therapists, we use the word interchangeably. Yeah, exactly. But we don't do a good job at taking care of ourselves. Yeah. I'm curious about what you're doing to take care of yourself during this time, because you are doing a whole lot.
Thank you. So in the beginning, I was petrified in the beginning, because I was I'm so used to living a fast-paced lifestyle, I am just doing a million things at once, or, trying to cook dinner, take care of my son, do this and that and the other. And so I was worried that once things slowed down for me, that I was going to have like a severe anxiety, attack and slip into depression. Cause I just was like, I can't handle having a slow paced lifestyle. And so, it took a couple of weeks for me to really adjust to this, because I just was like, what am I going to do with myself? I was kind of like walking around the house, like, what do I do? And then luckily, Monica, I think, had started her, delivering food and stuff earlier on in the pandemic. Yeah. So I called her a couple times and I was able to help a few times. But I've been slowly doing things for myself. And so like, this is the first time in, I think, over 20 years that I've finished a book that I read for pleasure. I read Untamed, which I highly recommend. I keep telling everybody about it. And so by Glennon Doyle. So you guys should look that up. It's just really about, I could relate so much to that book. And I think the book was so timely because it really talks about how much society expects women to behave in a certain way. And so, and then also being a mother, right? We kind of restrict ourselves, and we work so hard to, do everything for our kids and be a provider. And, we have this image that we maintain obviously for our children. And then it's like, well, what about if whatever situation I'm in doesn't make me happy, or, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is, like doing it, or we sacrifice our whole lives, when we become parents, we sacrifice our whole lives to be a parent. And so a lot of things that we want to do are on the back burner, so even when I raised my son, I had him at 20. And so I was focused on raising my son. And so I didn't go back to college until 14 years later, when he was old enough that I could go back. But all of those younger years I spent on, going to football, going to basketball practice, whatever it is that I needed to do for him. So now he's older, and I think now I'm just able to take better care of myself. And so during COVID, like I said, I've been reading, I've been walking a lot, and I'm just so excited. And I'm bragging to everybody that as of today, I'm at 68 miles for the month.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
for the month of May, or for COVID month? For COVID.
For the month of May. Just for the month of May. Not since COVID started. From the month of May.
That's crazy. I gotta get my steps in.
Yeah. So I've been doing 5 or 6 miles 6 days a week. I have one day that my cousin and we do 10 miles together. We walk from my old neighborhood at Phil's Corner to Castle Island and back. And it's just so refreshing. And I walk at 6 a.m. So the air is just so crisp and refreshing, and just the trees, the sun, just all of it. So I'm just like taking it all in, and it just feels great. I listen to music a lot. I'm still stuck in the 90s. So I listen to a lot of 90s R&B. That was like my time, So I listen to a lot of that. I think it just helped me reflect a lot on like my teenage years and my friends and just everything. And I just love the 90s music, because I just feel like it's just like full of love and just everything. And so that's my speed. So so just trying to do a little bit of everything to take care of myself. I love cooking, so I cook very often, and trying new recipes. And then I do fake tutorials on Instagram, because I don't really give recipes out. So I post it like after it's already seasoned, and then like the process to the end. So
just in case it don't come out right.
No, because I don't give out my recipes. So I don't.
Keep your picture.
I know it's gonna come out right because I'm a good cook. So that's the thing with our culture. I've been cooking since I was 11.
Okay.
So by now I should have mastered all of these things. I remember for years I couldn't make rice. I could make everything except for rice. So I think I started, my rice was better like in my 20s. And I remember making rice and my son saying to me that, oh, this doesn't taste like Mama's rice, which is my mom. And so I said, take my pot, go all the way to my mother's house in Dedham so she can make my rice, and then we would come back home. Like that's what or my brothers would stop by with my mom so she can make my rice, and then she would go home. And so she's like, Carla, just pay attention. So I just started timing it, and then finally got it right. And so I've been on it ever since. My mother's like, how do you bake pies and all of these things, but you can't make rice? I'm like, I don't know. It's either mushy or like hard, or it's just like I was having too many issues. So, because we don't measure, right? And so we just do everything by eye. But now I'm better with the rice, because I do measure now. and I timed it. So 18 minutes, and then I know it's good.
So we're cooking, we're working out, we're listening to music. So you're doing a lot of things and implementing them into your schedule.
Yeah, and I'm also like watching the things that I eat too, because there's things that are triggering for my anxiety. So like I don't drink coffee. I drink a lot of decaf tea. So I do like the raspberry teas, green teas, chamomile tea, just a bunch of like different teas that I mix up. Just because, you know, for me, like I have to really watch what I eat. I love sweets. I have such a sweet tooth, but the sugar is not good for the anxiety because it triggers it. So it's important to also to identify like the things that, you know, we eat because, you know, gut health and mental health like goes hand in hand. And so it's important to kind of keep an eye on that. So I'm not here eating burgers and stuff like that. Right. I mean, I may eat some rice and stuff, but I'm trying to watch a lot of the things that I'm eating and what I'm putting into my body too.
No, that's good. That's actually a good point too about the food intake that we're taking in and how it can affect our mental health. And we don't realize it, especially if we come from a culture where food is a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
So speaking of like food intake and self-care, I always ask people before they leave if they can help me with some tips for my audience to help us kind of navigate what we're going through now. Because I'm telling you now, don't say walk 10 miles a day because I'm not about to walk 10 miles. I've been doing like 3 or 4, but I thought I was doing it. But now you said 10. Give us something a little.
Download the Nike app so I can hold you accountable for next month.
Give us something a little bit less than 10 miles.
Well, I recommend at least like a mile to 2.
Okay.
At least a day. I mean, even if you can just do half a mile, just get out, get some, because all of that, you know, will help you so that you're not too stressed out. Because if we're just sitting home inside all day, it's just too stressful. And so, and everybody's household is different, you know what I mean? So sometimes, you know, we may have, you know, smaller spaces and that, you know, we don't all have our same space. So like when I was a kid, I shared room with my sister. So if we were in COVID right now and we shared room, we both would be going crazy, right? Because we're just like so different. And, you know, we like different music. We were just so different, you know? And so it would have been extremely difficult for me and my sister to be in one room all day long. And, you know, it's just been too much. And so, so I think it's just important for us to kind of find a way to make space for ourselves, whether, you know, the weather's nice. So if you can just go on the porch or sit outside or just wear your mask and, you know, go for a walk or a bike ride. I think all of those things would be very helpful. I also think that if you don't already have a therapist, you should find one. There's EnoPsych, there's Psychology Today, there's tons of different ways to find a therapist because this time is challenging for everybody. And I was saying the other day on another call that, you know, a lot of things are happening, right? People are creating businesses, starting podcasts, you know, doing all of these different things. And then some people may sit, you know, and kind of beat themselves up and say, well, you know, I haven't started anything or I'm not doing something or whatever. And, you know, we shouldn't compare ourselves to anybody because we all adjust differently. Yeah. And so, you know, for me, even thinking back for myself, I think we started working from home. It started decreasing hours back in March. And then I think officially it was like working from home in maybe April. And it took me up until May to like hit the ground running with my walks, you know, because I just had to process this. And, you know, my friends are losing family members. My cousins have lost grandparents. And so this is a trying time for everybody. And even like in my culture, the way we mourn and support each other in mourning, we're not able to do that. So that's definitely for people too. And, you know, we're not able to be there for each other. We're always like bringing food and just you know, we lean on each other. And so not being able to do that has been difficult too. So I think everybody should just kind of go at their own pace and set small goals. Like first I said I was just going to walk a mile, you know, a day or whatever. And then all of a sudden I just was like 5 miles is my goal. And I found a new route that puts me at like 6 miles. So I'm like, okay, so the last couple of days, my route has been 6 miles, you know? And so you'll gradually increase, but don't push yourself. Don't compare to other people. Do what's good for you and just find things that you like doing. I mean, you know, I was saying that for me, this time has allowed me to rediscover myself again, because I had been so busy that I was like, I don't even know what I like now. You know what I mean? Because so many things change, right? Like you're going to school or you're working a different job or, you know, and then like at this time now my son's about to go to college. I'm going to be an empty nester. So I'm like, what am I going to do with myself? So I have, you know, like each period in your time, there's so many, you know, so many different periods of our lives where, you know, we kind of just have to readjust ourselves and kind of look back and say, you know, well, I don't like this anymore. You know, even food, right? Bananas, right? I love bananas sometimes. Like I've been killing the banana peanut butter and chocolate smoothie every day. But I know in sometime soon, I'm gonna hate bananas again. Like I have a love-hate relationship. And so, and you know, so you just kind of have to adjust and go with the flow. Yeah. Like, you know, if you like walking right now, then walk. If you like bike riding, then do that. You know, like whatever it is, just kind of adjust and try different things so that you can identify what it is that does bring you joy and makes you happy.
That's good. Thank you for that. And thank you for talking about not comparing yourself and your transparency around it. Took you a while to even get to a space. You know, I'm joking around with you like, oh my gosh, you're doing all those miles, but it's not like you started out. It was like, oh, COVID's here. Let me start getting my life together and walk. It took a little bit. And so like, this is coming from people that are in the mental health field. So, you know, for people that are listening to this, understand that you're human. It's okay. If you set a goal and then it doesn't work out, set a new goal and just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, it's true. I've been looking at a lot of my former Nike challenges that were like 50K, and I only did like 2 miles out of them. There's a bunch of them on my list that I've, you know, over the years. Yeah. Now I'm finally crushing those goals, and I've been on the Nike app since like, I don't know, whenever it came out, you know. And so, so yeah, it's just, you know, you can do it, you know. You just have to take a focus on taking care of yourself, whatever that means.
Yeah. Thank you. This was so amazing. I'm so grateful to you for everything that you've shared. If people want to reach you, how could they find you?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram under Carla B .Monteiro. Same thing at Twitter, but _ and also on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on every social media platform, but I don't really know how to use Snapchat that good. I just go on there to use the filters and take pictures, and that's
It's for the kids, that's why.
I'm like, let me just take a picture. People are like, didn't you see my story? I'm like, no, I don't even know how to take it. Video. I don't know how to do anything. I don't even know who's on my, like, who's my friends, like on my list. I don't know anything about Snapchat. So
no, I use it for the they got the best cameras, so we are the same thing.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you, Carla, for everybody listening to this on the podcast. Just go to the show notes and you will find the link to everything that she mentioned. So you can just click on it and follow her there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Celeste. I've been following you for a long time too. So this is an honor to be on your show. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. All right, bye.
Bye, everybody. Good luck.
Oh, she's so sweet. So that was, let me just change this lens. So that was the podcast. That was an amazing social worker. We speak the same language. We do the same things. And I think people forget about social workers as being essential workers because, you know, when it comes to mental health, unfortunately, it tends to be the last thing on the list. Thank you. It tends to be the last thing on the list that people start to think about. So the fact that she's not only like still doing this work and then doing other things to help out her community is so amazing. And knowing where she's come from, you know, I actually heard her story on another podcast, and I was blown away by not just her transparency, but her journey and how like she didn't just say like, I'm good now, but she's like, nope, I'm going to help my people too. I want them to know like there's healing because we don't have to suffer in silence. And every time I start the show, that's one of the things I really want to like convey to you guys. It's like, you don't have to suffer in silence. Like you can really work on getting the support. It's out there, you know, and sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's not a direct link to the way that you're going to get the support. Carla just talked about where she works at. Now there's more hoops involved to people getting the support that they need. So there may be some hoops, but I don't want you to give up because of the hoops. I really want you to focus on like your goal and where you're trying to get to. So thank you guys so much. Y'all know we'll be back Monday. Another amazing lineup, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So you can find me on those sites. You can also follow my Instagram or Facebook or Twitter account. I'm always on there. All you got to do is search Celeste the Therapist. And until next time, beautiful people, I will talk to you later.
Every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit.